Hi, Todd here from Urban Sound Studio. In this third video on the Sequential Prophet, we're going to have some fun. We'll cover some of the classic sounds of the Prophet, how to create them, and then we'll take a look at some sound design tips, some tricks, and even some effects that you could do with the Prophet. Let's begin by seeing how to create a classic polyphonic brass sound with the Prophet. Let's initialize our sound by hitting Record plus Preset. So how does this become a brass sound? We know brass instruments have a slower attack and a natural release. They aren't plucky, but a little decay into the sustain helps emphasize the attack. It is getting there, but the filter is where we're going to get much of the character. It isn't a static filter. It needs to open and close to mimic the acoustic sound. Add a little attack and a little release. The decay of the filter is where you're going to get that real tonguing sound of a brass instrument. Adding oscillator B can help by doubling the sound or brighten up the upper harmonics. Now, let's explore how to create a Polysaw Patch, which is another classic sound. Here's our initial patch. Polysaw will obviously be two sawtooth waves. Let's put one of them down an octave. It already sounds great. Detuning them instantly fattens it up. Add some release. Add filter tracking to open up the filter. Find the sweet spot with the sustain knob . Balance it between the filter frequency and the envelope amount to get the proper amount of pluck to the sound. Now bring in a little vintage slop to add even more character. Now, let's dive a little deeper into the Polymod section and create a synced lead or bass sound using some FM style effects. To start, sync oscillator A to B. You won't hear a difference just yet. Bring the frequency of oscillator B all the way down. The idea is we want to move the frequency of oscillator A for the effect. You can do this with the wheel mod. However, using Polymod with the filter envelope will give you a ton more control and really capture the sound. Adjusting the attack and decay starts to give you that timbral movement we want. And to really get the effect, bring the sustain all the way down on the envelope to get that bass drop. Adjust the frequency offset to get the perfect balance. It works great on leads, too. You could even add in Oscillator B for a layered sound. Add some filter movement for a more gnarly effect. Unison glide makes the sound even more amazing. Here's how you could use the stepped filter frequency to create a descending effect. Bring your cutoff all the way down and turn up resonance a ton. Your envelope amount is what sets the amount of movement. With sustain all the way down, you will start with a high cutoff and gradually decay to a fully closed cutoff frequency. You can hear the resonance stepping through the quantized semitones of the filter. Adjust decay for the perfect timing. Adding attack will give you a little bump in the beginning. What is interesting is how much the filter revision button affects the sound and envelopes. Here's how to create a punchy octave slide using the envelope. The filter envelope will modulate our frequency. Let's turn frequency A on, and sustain will need to be all the way up as the filter envelope knob sets the pitch. We want to tune this to an octave. Now that is set, turn the sustain all the way down so you land on the correct note. Decay will set the time it takes to arrive from the starting octave note to the landing note. We could add some attack if we want to hear the pitch rise prior to the decay. Shorter decay is more usable, as you won't hear the pitch sliding so much. Add polyunison on a Prophet 10 to get the single oscillator sounding really thick. Add a little filter and you'll have a perfect sound. Now, here's a variation where we create an octave jump on the release of the key. Start by setting your octave, but this time tune the sustain rather than bringing it all the way down. By bringing up the amp and filter release stages, you will hear the pitch change take place during the release stage. Let's make it even longer. By shortening the release, you get what sounds like a double hit. All I'm actually doing is this. But you end up hearing this. Add poly unison on a Prophet 10 to get this single oscillator sounding really thick. Now I want to show you a filter sequencing effect using Polymod. Let's add a little release. Set filter tracking to full and turn the cutoff down. We want the filter to be modulated by oscillator B. Start with the pulse waveform as it's easiest to hear the sequencing effect so that we hear the cutoff open up. If we select low frequency mode, we will start with our cutoff all the way closed and we could hear it open to reveal the sound. Keyboard tracking makes it so that lower and higher notes will have different speeds. Oscillator B frequency sets the pulsing speed. With keyboard off, we get a very predictable pulse. But on, it becomes extremely useful too. Using a triangle shape is a totally different sound since it's bipolar, so bring our cutoff to the middle and hear it go back and forth. Adjust the speed with the frequency knob. And of course, Sawtooth allows us to reveal the note with an evolving sound when you start with the cutoff frequency completely closed. I call this next one disappearing oscillators. It's a creative pulse width trick. Let's start with a pulse wave. If we play a chord, we could thin it out and make it vanish. Remember, Polymod takes our pulse width in negative values. The filter envelope will allow the attack to gradually make sounds disappear. If we start with a high pulse width amount, we can do the opposite. We start with no sound and make it appear over time. You could also layer it with the sawtooth wave to make it sound full with the pulse wave thinning behind it. Or let oscillator B create the main pitch and the pulse effect will stay on oscillator A. Adding release will give a second stage where we make the pulse appear and then it disappears on release. Or go for a reverse effect by using a lower pulse width offset. Now, let's explore how to create a slow evolving sound with a synced sweep. We're going to start with a square wave and thin it out. We will turn filter frequency all the way up to modulate the frequency of A and give us a nice glassy sound. But we need to sync A so that we don't change the pitch. Let's adjust the envelope to taste. Bring the sustain all the way down so you know where the oscillator frequency will end up. Now let's add a ton of filter envelope to hear the slow evolving timbral sound combined with the filter movement. Without the frequency modulation, we get this static sound. But with the modulation, there's a ton more character. Now add some amp attack for a gentle evolving lead or pad. Thanks for watching. We've covered a ton, but honestly we've only scratched the surface of all that the Prophet can do. If you're a Prophet user, I'd love to hear about some of your sound design tricks. Please leave them in the comments below. And as always, please help support the channel by liking the video and subscribing.